Hi there, everyone. Oh, excuse me. Hi there, how are you all? Can you hear me? There's quite a few here waiting already. Wow. Hi, Connie. Hi, Suzette. Hi, Karen. Hi, Sue. Hi, Janet. Hi, Hazel. What else have we got? We've got Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. Ah, thanks, Connie. Loud and clear. Perfect. That's always my worry, that you can't hear me. Hi, Grandma Bonnie. How are you? Yes, I'm making the fish tank today. I've had a chat with Tina. She's talked me through it. So fingers crossed we'll be okay. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat today. So I've got myself all sorted. Hang on, my camera's a little bit wonky. Let's just put it like that. There we are. Hopefully that should stay put. That should look okay. Hi, Valerie. So as you can see on the side here, I have put the photo of the fish tank card that Tina made probably a couple of weeks now when Tracey's collection was launched, and I can't take any credit for this live today other than just following Tina's instructions and putting it together. So I've got everything prepped, and I've got a slide for you a little bit later on showing you what you need to cut out. Now, the beauty of this is they're all going to be on video, so if I go too fast or if you just need to sort of recap a little bit, then you'll be able to stop and start and replay the video, but hopefully it'll be nice and straightforward. Tina's done a fabulous job in giving me all the dimensions and giving me all the instructions on how to put it together. But as I say, all the credit goes to Tina on this one, to actually getting all the dimensions and actually putting, getting the imagination to actually put all of this together and pulling together lots of different sets to make this work. Now, it's all done obviously with Lisa's dies and nesting dies, so there's not a huge amount of measuring involved. A lot of it is die cutting, which will allow it all to come together for you. Plus, you've got the beauty of Tracey's stamps to go in there, but it might be a really nice thing for you just to take forward and use for other designs. You can perhaps adapt it to be a garden scene, so you can put die cut flowers in there, or you can make it like a terrarium. So there's lots of different ideas, but it really is just perfect as a fish tank, so ideal for Tracey Hayes' collection. So you can see the card there. What I'll do, I'm just going to flick onto the slide now here. This is everything. This is everything that I'm going to use. So I'll go into the measurements in a second. Which I have sitting there. So everything that we've used for this, there's quite a nice little pile actually. So it's all a really good craft room stash. So lots of nesting dies and things that say it's really useful. So the first thing we use is the nested, scalloped and stitched rectangles. We use the second largest die in this to create the initial, the large window, the aperture in the centre there. We also use the gift card holder. Now, what we're using out of here is one of these smaller dies. So if you're not familiar with this set or you haven't looked at it for a little while, we've got a set of 1, 2, 3, 4 nesting rectangles, stitched rectangles in the centre there. And we're using the largest one of those, and these create the panels on the side. Now, as a workaround, if you don't have this set, if you don't have this gift card set, or you don't have any dies that may be this size. And I'll just bring in a ruler actually. I'll just bring in a ruler and show you the size of it. This works out to be about 9 centimeters by 6. These are for the side panels. So, but if you don't have this set or nothing, or any dies that would sort of correspond to this size, I would say, and I think Tina might agree, that you don't necessarily need to put the side panel windows on, as long as you've got obviously the window right at the front of the card. So if you've got this, then obviously it's perfect, and you'll be able to go ahead. Say if you don't have this or nothing of this size, I don't think it will be a deal breaker as to whether you can sort of complete the card or not. Also, what we have is the EDGECUTZ Essential dies. Now, these are really, really useful. And actually, I actually forgot to check what we have in stock. I don't know if these are in stock. I used these a couple of weeks ago, actually. If I remember right, they weren't in stock then, but the chances are that many of you will have this already. Or if you don't have these and you want to create the waves, these are the effect that you'll get from the EDGECUTZ, particularly these top two. You can rip and tear and you'll be able to make the waves that way. But the EDGECUTZ dies, I've just used these two ones that look like the waves. I've used them before to make hills and things on inked backgrounds too. So I use these two dies, and I'll show you again in more detail when we get to that stage later on. Now we come on to the decoration, and we've used the Splash collection by Tracey Hayes. So we've used the acetate, so this gorgeous acetate that is printed with the wonderful coloured bubbles on there. Oh, and you can actually see that. I'm going to leave that in the packet for you there, so you can actually get quite a good view of the colours there. So that is printed acetate. I've used one sheet of that, and I've also used as a background, sort of the backdrop to the tank there, are Tracey Hayes papers as well. So we have lots of different papers. You obviously have the ones with the heart shapes on, but we have some of the more of the solid block papers, which is perfect to use in the background. Then, of course, we move on to the Best Fishes stamp collection. So I've stamped each one of these gorgeous little critters out. I've coloured them and die cut them, and then we'll be using little strips of acetate to sort of put these in place. And then you can use as many or as little as you want of these. You can fill the aquarium with all the same type of fish, or you can put one of every single one in, just one. So that's entirely up to you. That's where your imagination can really come into this. And then we have two other die sets here that we've that Tina has used as decoration, and say this is what's inspired and sort of really brings the whole card to life. Tina has used the Trailing Leaves set and the Modern Berry set as seaweed and like foliage on the inside of the tank there. So absolute genius. So I've die cut these already in preparation, so you'll see these a little bit later. But if you look at these red dies in particular, they do look like seaweed. So just cut them in green or whichever colour you want, actually. I mean, you can get red seaweed too, don't you? So yeah, just perfect. And then we've used some of the Modern Berries florals as well on the inside. So it will all come together. They are the sets that I've used, and you can see them listed on the side there. Also, what I'm using today are the newest sentiment stamps that Lisa has released. Now, the reason I'm using these, and just to remind you, is that these are on an absolutely amazing deal on Lisa's website just for this week. Dawn would have introduced you to them yesterday. I'll be using them today. Now, I only have 2 of the sets. The rest of them are on their way to me, and I bought them just before this offer came out. So you are really in the best position here to fill any holes that you may have in your collection, or if you don't have them already. the collection is basically half price. You're paying £46.96. Again, half price, and you are getting 8 sets of stamps. You're getting 2 this size, which are the A5 set of stamps. The 2 sets that you get are these sentiment strips, so you get like the ticker tape, which I'm so glad she brought these back, because Lisa, in one of the original releases that she had a set of stamps like this, and I used them all the time until they went out of stock, and then they weren't re-released, so I had to stop using them for demos and things. But these are probably my favourite sentiment stamps in all. So there are 2 sets of these in the collection. I only have the one, which is the Happy Vibes. And then I'll just put these back together. Then in the collection, you will also get 6 sets of these mini sentiments, and each one of these sentiments will have one scripted sentiment for you. So they will range in best, like we've got here. We have you, congrats, happy birthday, and thanks. And then you have all the well, I wouldn't say plainer font, but it's not plain. It's a more, I suppose it is a more readable font with all the different words. This one has mum, dad, brother, teacher, birthday, luck. Each of the sets will have a different word for you. So if you do go for the whole entire set, you will pretty much have a stamp for every single occasion that you may want to create a card for, and then more some, I reckon. So yeah, I only have the 2, but you'll see on the slide there that there are many more in the collection. And to reach that, all you need to do is to go onto Lisa's website. You'll see that top graphic with Lisa's pics on the very front page, and it's quite self-explanatory. It says just click the image, which if you do, it will take you to the right page, and you'll be able to avail of that amazing offer. But say this is only Lisa's pick for 1 week, so come midnight on Sunday, then the price will revert back to what it was, and then come next Monday there'll be a new Lisa's pick, which will be equally as fabulous, but it might not be the item that you are actually hoping for. I have a feeling it probably will be, because I'm quite excited to see a lot of the offers that are coming up, if this particular one is anything to go by. So although Tracey's stamp collection itself does have the sentiments on there, so if you do want to keep with a fishy theme, as Tina has done, then obviously there's all the fabulous puns which Tracey is so brilliant at coming up with. So you've got the choice of sentiment. So if I just show you how to make the fish tank, then it's your choice as to how you sort of decorate that with these sentiments. So the next slide I'm going to show you now, not that one, this one, is everything that you will need to get prepped to make this card. So to start with, actually, before I carry on, all the white card that I'm using is Lisa's Super Smooth cardstock. It's a fabulous way to actually make construction cards with, but also it's not too thick to make it really bulky. It just works perfectly. As you know, we always, as a design team, we always use Lisa's cardstock. So to start with, you will need 2 pieces measuring 29 centimeters, which is pretty much the length of an A4 size sheet. So it's 29 centimeters by 13 centimeters. You need 2 of these, and you need to score them both, once at 18 centimeters and another at 27 centimeters. So you probably can't see that score. There you go. So you basically ending up with a shape like this. Now, how this is going together, you will have 2, and they will be the mirror image of each other. So you will score them both in exactly the same positions, but when you actually come to create, you will be turning one of them round to be the mirror of the object. So you can see already how that fish tank shape is coming together. Next, you will need to cut a further 2 pieces measuring 13 centimetres by 8.5 centimetres. So that's, say, 8.5 by 13. You don't need to score these, and what these will do is reinforce the sides of your fish tank. Now for the back of the fish tank, to hold all of this together, I've cut a piece of Tracey Hayes design paper, and this measures 18 centimetres by 13. So that will sit in the back, and this is the size that mirrors the front panel of the tank there. So you can see how that's coming together. Next, you need to cut your acetate. Now for the front panel of acetate, I'm actually using Tracey's decorated acetate, and this measures just larger than my die cut that comes from the nested scalloped. So I've taken the second largest of the die, so not the scallop die, but the next one down. That will cut the aperture into the front of this card, and I've made sure that I've cut this acetate just that little bit larger, as you can see there. So that will make sure that that will hold that in. I've already lined this with red liner tape to add this down, so I'll prep that in advance. So this acetate piece does need to be slightly larger than this die, and I've measured that to be 17 centimetres by 12 centimetres. Okay, so that's that piece of acetate that will sit on the front there. You need to cut a further 2 pieces of acetate to sit on the side panels, if indeed you are going to do that. Remember this little die that comes from the gift card set? That will cut us an aperture in our side panels. So if you are going to do this, then obviously you need to cut 2 pieces of acetate, 1 for each side, again slightly larger than this die that you're using to cut the aperture with. So these pieces measure 11 centimetres by 7, and that will sit on there. And again, I've just lined that with liner tape already to get prepared. So that's where our 2 side pieces of acetate will go to. The next thing we need to do, you need to, for the waves that are sitting on the inside of the tank, I've chosen 3 sheets of blue cardstock, and I've cut each of those to be 20 centimetres by 7 centimetres. Now they will be cut into a little bit afterwards, so I've already cut into these again as prep. So you basically want to choose yourself 3 different shades of blue, or possibly the same shade, it doesn't really matter, but 7 centimetres by 20 centimetres is a good starting point, because as you can see, we will actually be using the edge cuts to die cut into those and shape them. The last thing you need to do is just to create yourself 3 little strips of acetate. These will stick onto the back of the characters and allow you just to add the characters to sort of be floating or swimming in the water, as it were. So these measure, and I've just cut 3. These measure 1.5 centimetres in width, and I've cut them to a length of 10 centimetres, but these will be trimmed to size depending on where I want my little characters to sit. And I've already prepped these again, and I've put a little bit of red liner tape on the top. So that's what these little things, little figures, these little strips are for. So basically our little character will sit on there, and we can attach him to the waves and he'll look like he's floating. But again, more on that a little bit later on. And so you've got the side panel there, so it doesn't matter too much if you didn't manage to write all of that down. And I say appreciate there's a lot of information to take in there, but hopefully now as I start making this, it will sort of come together as to how the card is constructed. And again, if you really watch this back, you'll always be able to pause and stop and take your time in this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove all of the panels there. Okay, so let's just set my camera straight a little bit. I'll tell you what happened the other day. I knocked it, I headbutted it when I was reaching forward to something, and it's turned it all out of alignment. Okay, so first things first, we're going to cut some apertures into our cardstock that we've already cut and scored. So we're going to take the largest stitched die from the nested rectangle set, and we want to cut our aperture into both pieces of cardstock at the same time, if possible. What that will do is make sure that your windows or your apertures are perfectly aligned. Lisa's dies are more than capable of cutting through multiple layers of cardstock at any one time. Obviously, you don't want to push it, but 2 layers, I'm pretty confident that we are going to be able to cut through both of these layers together. And we know then that both apertures are going to really marry up with each other. So what we want to do, center that as much as possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to measure this. So whichever way you find the easiest to, sorry, excuse my head coming in. I just need to have a little look. So whichever way you find easiest to center your dies before die cutting. We all have our own ways of doing this. So I just need to move that along a little bit there. All I'm just doing is making sure that these dies are centered. So I know that when I turn one piece around, it's going to be matching up exactly. So I'm happy with that. And what I'm going to do actually, I'm just going to make sure that that sticks in place. So I'm just going to get myself a little bit of washi tape. I'm just going to take the stick out of it actually, because what I do, you can't see me doing this, but I'm just adding some lint to the back of this washi tape. Although this washi tape is fairly non-stick, what I don't want to do is to damage the card once I pull this after I've die cut this. So I'm just going to take off a little bit of the stick, and also I'm making sure that I'm adding the washi tape to the inside of the card. So the aperture is basically not going to be part of the card. So if this bit does damage slightly when the tape pulls off a bit, I'm not going to worry too much, because I really want the outside frame to stay intact. That's the part that is going to be most important. So I'm just going to bring in my die cutting machine. I'm going to try and do as much of the die cutting. I keep headbutting that thing again. Try and do as much of the die cutting in front of you as I can, just to show you that this can be done in real time. So I'm just loading that onto my big shot there. Just going to put that through. So as you can see, I've actually die cutting through both layers of cardstock at the same time. I'm just going to run it back again. I always run it back for a second time anyway, but that really does just make sure that the die has gone through both layers. I can feel already that that has been done. So I can take that away. So now you have 2 mats and layers that you can add back into your storage envelope there and use at another time. And as you can see, that masking tape did just rip that layer a little bit. I sort of knew that that would happen. That's because of the masking tape that I'm using. So if I'd have used Lisa's masking tape, then it perhaps wouldn't have happened. Okay, so we have our aperture, nice clean cut there. So when I take these two parts separately and turn one of those around, reline them up, you can see that the apertures do line up with each other exactly. So that's just perfect. So with that idea in mind, I'm going to do exactly the same with the two side panels here and this smallest die. So I'm going to die cut both pieces together. Now, I don't need to necessarily line this up to be as central this time around, because obviously these two apertures, oh no, actually, I'm thinking the way I'm thinking about it. What we need to do is take one of these pieces again, because we need to die cut the side panel into this larger piece, don't we? And these pieces are actually going to reinforce on the inside. So what we want to do is to line up this smaller panel with our side panel here. Make sure that they stick together, and then die cut these two. And then what we need to do, take this panel, line it up in between the scroll lines on the other side, and again we'll use that, we'll die cut that together also. So I'm going to line those up. Again, I'm just going to take a little bit of masking tape just to make sure they stay, or the die stays in place. Do that there. And then get myself a little bit of masking tape. We're ready for the next one. So bring my machine in again. Make sure that these two panels are aligned with each other. We can run that through. Like so. And then we can take the die from here. We don't need that part. And, oh, I keep headbutting that. Oh, dear me. Okay, right, so I'm going to line up this second piece on the side panel and centre that die. And what I would say is make sure that now that these pieces are die cut, that you keep this smaller piece with that larger panel, and the same once you've done this one, because obviously the apertures will correspond better if you keep them paired as they were cut. So I'm just going to run this through here. And get that piece done. Okay, so we don't need the apertures from there anymore, so we can take those out, use them another time. Always keep everything, there's always a use for these things. Okay, so I'm going to turn these around so we can see how our tank is going to come together. So what we need to do now, I think, is add our acetate. Now, remember when you cut the acetate, they've always got this protective film on as well. So before you add any adhesive, do make sure you take that off. I've already pulled it aside so I can add my red liner tape on. So what I want to do now really is to sandwich this acetate between these two apertures here. Now the easiest way to do this, now what you would have seen there, I've just turned one piece over, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take away the protective film there, and I'm going to now add this. I'm just going to take away the red liner tape, and I can position this in front of the aperture, and you can see that by cutting that acetate just that little bit larger than your window there, you've got a nice clearance around the outside. So I can now just remove the red liner tape. So you'd notice there that I would have just taken the protective layer just off one of the strips of tape just to start with, so I can lay that down, and I know that the acetate will lay into position, and then I can go around and just take off the liner tape around the other sides. Now it's up to you at this stage how you want to then sandwich that acetate in between. You can either use a glue or you can use a line of, oh, I'm very clumsy today, aren't I? Or you can use a glue, or you can use a liner tape again, just to add those two, well, to make that sandwich together. So I think I was going to use glue, but I think what I might do, I might use the liner tape, because I know that that will stick a lot quicker. I'm going to do that way. So I'm going to add actually I'm going to use a thicker one this time. I use a liner tape that's too thick. No, go back to my original. If you've got the time, then the glue will work just as well. But because I'm making this for you, the red liner tape is going to provide just that instant grip. You could, of course, use red liner tape for the initial adhesion, and then add some glue on top of that, because not only will that give you the wiggle room, but it will also just give you that extra layer of adhesion, so you know that you are secure. Now, what I want to do now is to make sure that I line this up. I'm not going to have much wiggle room once I've taken the liner off the tape there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take off a little bit and just replace it on half of that adhesive there. So I've only got a tiny little bit showing, and I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. I'll take the liner tape off. I'm going to replace it again. So I've only got a little bit of the adhesive showing, but on the opposite corner. What that is going to allow me to do is on these sides, it's going to give me the chance just to move that cardstock in place. And just gives me that little wiggle room, which otherwise red liner tape doesn't usually give you. And once I'm happy with that, I can just press that into position, remove the liner tape like that. It will slide out from between the two layers easily enough. And then what I can do is use either a pair of tweezers or a little pokey tool just into the gap there, and I can remove the red liner tape from the other two sides. That way I know that everything is going to stay lined up. There we are. So we have the front of our tank coming together, and that's going to stand just nicely. I'm just making sure that each of those creases are just folded and burnished properly. It gives us a nice angle for it to stand and be secure. Okay, so before we continue, we're going to do exactly the same process to attach these side panels now. So again, I've used Lisa's acetate here, so it's the clear acetate. I could have used Tracey's, but I only wanted to use the patterned one on the front. So I've used Lisa's clear acetate, which has 2 layers of protection on it. So I'm just going to take those off now. Again, take off this red liner tape. I'm going to be covered in this later on. This sticks something chronic, doesn't it? Have you found that? Right, because this is a smaller, manageable sheet, I can just stick that straight down over the aperture, like so. I should do the same on this side. I'll speed up a little bit. Again, take off the protective sheet. I thought I'd already done this. There we are. Once you can snag it on the corner, it comes away really easy. If you don't have nails to do that, perhaps just take one of your pokey tools and just sort of snag it on the corner. That works a treat. Then you won't damage the acetate underneath. So I can add the acetate there. Now I think I may actually use glue on this one because I've got a little bit more cardstock to play around, and it's going to be a bit quicker for you. So I will use glue to attach this. Now I haven't used the glue for a little bit. There we are. So I'm just going to glue around the outside. Now what Tina has done, she's made sure that these panels are just that little bit slimmer than the panel on this larger piece of card. What that does, it keeps the edges of this smaller panel, which hides your acetate sandwich, it keeps it away from the fold in the center there, so you aren't you're not affecting the way that this card folds back into itself. So all these little details do need to be thought of when you make these construction cards, because they make a difference on how they fold. Say, I think there was a Facebook post that Lisa, I'm getting my names confused, that Tina put on earlier on to say that this card folds flat. And it's these little details and just making sure that all the creases are burnished and that you're not having too much bulk in each of the folds of the card, that all help towards making these cards perfect in that way. So we have our frame coming together. We have the front and then the 2 panels at the side. Now what we do need to do then is to just construct this and put our back panel on there. Okay. I will do that now because I think I'll add those in separately. And again, I think what I might do, I will add glue at this stage because it makes it a little bit quicker, and it's going to have a few minutes just to dry. Now we want our design to be faced on the inside, so I'm just going to add the 1 panel like that and line it up, and then I'd be able to, we'll do this standing up, I think, or have the card standing up. I'm just going to line up the back and just fold that card or that tab onto the back of that design, like so. Now you can see that the card does indeed fold flat. And do you know what? Tina said to me that her card folded better one way or the other. And she's so right in that. I just folded that the other way and it wasn't going to sit quite as straight. But if I fold that way, the card sits perfectly flat. And I'm able just to make sure that they glue tapes to each other. And so now you have that construction of the card and the box. And we have basically our tank there that we need to decorate. Now, because I've used the glue, I can just leave that to sit aside and just allow those back panels there just to dry off slightly. And then I can concentrate on these waves here now. Now, as I said, when you prep for this card, if you cut all 3 sections, coloured sections, to be the same size, we can then go on to adjust the size of them so they sit in a nice formation within the tank there. Now, before I've done that, I have used the Edge Cuts dies. Now, as I say, I've used the 2 wavy ones. I think these ones, as did Tina actually, and I've just used those to cut the shapes out of this coloured cardstock. I've had 2 with one of the dies and then just 1 with the other dies, and that way, see, the top one there is this die and the bottom one is this die. So this will be the front wave, this will be the centre wave. You don't need to really worry too much as to how you position them, because I think just the nature of how you're cutting them, you will have the waves showing and they will show sort of beyond each other. But if you want to just alter the how you place that onto the cardstock, then obviously that's a really nice way to do it as well. Now, these ones have already been cut and prepped. I'll just show you how I done that with this final remaining one here. Now, what you do need to do is you'll notice that the die cut itself doesn't go from edge, doesn't cut right through to the edge. That is fine at this stage. So what you need to do is take your scoring tool. You need to score 1 centimetre in on both sides of this. Now, when you die cut it, you try and centralise the die as much as you can into the centre. If it goes off just slightly, it really doesn't matter. But if you create that 1 centimetre scored fold on either side and just fold that back, this is what is going to create the tabs to attach these waves to the inside of your tank here. So just fold those tabs back. Now what we can do to, obviously we need to remove this part. Just take your scissors and just follow the line of the curve that you've cut and just snip through into the tab, like so. You can either sort of follow the line, you can shape into it, be creative, but you know, if you just follow the line, these ones are really quite straightforward to be able to do that. You can remove that top part. You can always keep that for another project, actually. You've got the 2 tabs sitting there and it'll be a really nice little landscape. So we have our waves. And at this stage, they are possibly all sitting. If I stack them all, they're all sitting. Let me just see if I can. It's quite bright, isn't it? There we are. Let's turn that down a little bit for you, so you'll be able to see this way that you can actually see that they're not too visible. So we do need to stack them, and what we need to do is basically just alter the height of the waves. And I think to do that, we'll just take a little bit off of the base. Now these 2, I think the way that they sit, they could be kept the same height. I'm just going to bring my trimmer in. Now this one is going to be kept as the back way, so I'm going to keep that as the tallest. This one I'm just going to take off possibly 0.5 centimetre, just off the bottom of the wave there. And as I stack that, you can now see there's going to be some graduation of the waves. And I'm going to just lay this one in front and just see where looks best. You can still see all the waves, but they are different heights now. I'm just going to turn that over, and you can see the excess there of this front wave. I'm just going to put a little mark there just to remind myself of where I need to trim. So I'm going to just cut on that little mark there and just make a straight line down on my, I like to use the guillotine. I find it's given me the cleanest cut. So when I lay that there, I think that gives us a nice graduation of the waves and all the different layers are visible. So what we can do now, and I think probably the best thing to do, just showing you actually, is to use red liner tape. So I'm going to use the red liner tape and just attach a little bit onto each of the tabs there. It's been ages since I've used so much tape actually in my makes. I usually use a lot of glue, to be fair, but I'm not very adventurous normally when it comes to making card shapes. So actually it's really nice that Tina gave me the opportunity to actually make this for you. So I'm going to put that in there. Not the easiest thing to use when everyone's watching though, to be fair. Okay, last one. Now I think what I might do, now if you bear in mind, if you look on the side of the card here, a lot of the wave is going to be seen in this window here, isn't it? But I think what I don't necessarily want the red liner tape to be showing, so let me just put that on the inside. I think what I might do, I'm going to measure this distance here, which is 2.3 centimetres, and hopefully it'll be the same on this side. Yeah, just short. And I'm going to measure down into this tab. I'm going to cut this tab so it's the same height as this here. So I'm not going to have any adhesive showing in my window. Now this is going to be very dependent on where you've placed the aperture here. So this is something that you would need to measure yourself. So I'm going to measure that 2.3 centimetres, or just over 2 centimetres on each of these tabs. Just like so. And I'm going to snip that part where I've measured it just to the score line of that tab, okay, and take off the top part. So now the only tab that we've got that's going to be showing, this tiny little bit here, will be hidden on this part of the card here. Does that make sense? That's just a little so just a little attention to detail. If it doesn't bother you, if you see the adhesive through the window, then say this section, this part really isn't essential, but I think it'll just be a really nice sort of little detail to remember. Now I'm do exactly the same on this side. Remember to measure this distance from the bottom of the wave upwards, because otherwise you'll be losing the wrong part of your tab. So I'm just measuring just 2 centimetres from the base of the wave upwards, like so. and I shall just cut away the excess there again. So just where that measure mark is, I'll cut to the scored section and just trim that down. I think this is the easiest way to actually create these little tabs for you. And it will depend on the aperture, the placement and the size that you've used on the side of your card. So everybody's measurements at this stage will be different. So I'm going to measure those. Okay. Oh, I've got itchy nose now. Okay, so that will work, and we line them all up again. All our tabs should basically be about the same sort of size, give or take. Now, I think what might be easier before we add the waves into the tank is to actually start positioning our decoration. So I've already stamped, coloured and die cut the little characters out from Tracey Hayes' collection there, and I've already die cut the modern berries and the, what they called, I've forgotten what they're called now, these sets, the trailing leaves and the modern berries set there. So I'll leave those sitting there. Oh, my coffee cup gone. And I shall just bring in little Tracey's set here. So remember, with Tracey's stamp set, you actually get the stamps here, but you also get the dies to cut them out also, and you do get the dies to cut out each of the words and the smaller little bubble elements, the fish elements. So everything that you see documented on the front of the stamp set can be die cut out. So that's a really lovely little set to use. So I think what I might do is start arranging where I want my little characters to be. I think it's going to be easier done at this stage before I add it into the tank. So we can start adding our sort of seaweed, I suppose, as it were, like that. And remember those little tags that we created for the little acetate tags? So these would be a good time to bring these into play. We don't have to use them for all the characters. We can actually add some of the characters either directly back onto the back of the on the back of the tank there, and we can add them directly to the waves as well. So what I might do, I might have this one sitting like that, and I shall attach all of these in a second. So we want them facing each other, I think. So I might have him on there like that. I might attach this one to the back of the tank like so. And I can add him in a second. I can add him to a little piece of acetate and have him sitting there. And where can we have this one? Might put him onto a little bit of acetate and have him sitting just in the front like that, I think. And then we've got our little bits of greenery that we can add also to the tank. So I think this is really much a case of just getting your placement right before you start adding things on. Oh, that seaweed's disappeared. So maybe I have him sitting like that. We can have another bit of seaweed sort of sitting there. Okay. So now I shall start adding my little bit of. No, this doesn't take much glue on here at all because these little bits of seaweed are so delicate, but absolutely perfect. And I've cut them out of like an olive green, so it coordinates really, really well. So I shall add those little bits of foliage first. Like so, I think. I can attach this one to the back of that front wave so we can hide a lot of the glue like that. So that can sit. Actually, let's sit that one behind there on the second layer. And we put this one on the second layer also. So this is where you can start really having your fun and really making this a really fun scene. But what we do need to be conscious of is that we don't want the height of this to be more than 13 centimetres, because otherwise it'll be popping out the top of the tank as well, which again wouldn't necessarily look quite so good. So we're going to have this little figure on here. He was going to sit there, wasn't he? So I think what I might do, I can take off the protective layer on this acetate now, back and front. Now the quality of this acetate is perfect for this project, because once you've removed those protective layers, this acetate really is so very clear. And I've just taken the protective layer off the red liner tape, and I'm just popping that behind my little character there. So now you can see he can be sat anywhere in the aquarium. And I will attach that on the reverse. I'll use a little bit of red liner tape again. So I'm just going to put the red liner tape, can you see what I'm doing, on the front of the acetate, because we do want to hide that as much as possible. And I can add him behind this wave like so, I think. Now you can see here why I said that these acetate strips can now be trimmed to size, because we have, oh, you can see, yeah, we have just that little bit poking out the bottom there, so we can just trim that to size. There we are, so we have him sitting there. This little guy, I think, can just sit straight onto that seaweed layer, like that. And he'll be sitting in the front there. We'll put this little cutie on a little stick. So let me just see your comments. Sorry, I've been chatting away all of this time. Hopefully you're all with me, you're all still following me. And I hope you go and say really do give Tina the credit for this once I've finished also, because I'm just the lucky one who's been able to bring this to you and show it to you sort of come together. It was Tina sort of really done the hard work and actually got all the dimensions and had the initial imagination to bring this to life. But actually I would never have made this by myself. So it's actually been really good fun to create something like this. So I can stick him behind this wave here. I think I'll put him there, and I can trim that extra bit of acetate off the bottom also. So we have our two layers there. So you can see how it's coming together. And I'll just put this last little smiley chap on this piece of acetate and take off the liner tape. You can go behind there. And make sure actually this time I don't put too much tape on. I just want to make sure that he's not going to pop up out of the tank. So I'm just lining up the bottom of the tank with the bottom of the waves there, and just making sure that he doesn't come up too far. So I shall get a length of tape. You see, the beauty of this acetate as well, the Lisa's acetate, it is able to hold itself quite sturdy. So there will be a little bit of movement from these figures sitting on the acetate, but it won't be too much. They'll certainly be, they'll be able to hold their own and not sort of end up looking too droopy and sort of falling out of the scene. The acetate really does sort of have enough strength in it in itself to hold itself up. So again, I'm just making sure that I'm not going to be putting this little character up too high. We don't want him sticking up outside of the tank, really, do we? So, and again, I'll just trim off the smallest amount of acetate at the bottom there. And I think we are getting to the point where we can start adding this to the inside of the card. So what I think I might do first, to add the waves, to make sure that they're all evenly spaced, I'm going to add the middle one first. So I'm just going to take off just one side of the red tape. Now you could, if you wanted, to mark out the middle of your fish tank, or you can just do this by eye. So I'm just making sure that the tab is at 90 degrees to the wave, and I'm just going to bring this in, and just by eye I'm going to line up the bottom of the tab with the bottom of the tank there, and just sort of place that in the center, and that will give me a good measure as to where to put the other two waves. So I've just removed the red line, the tape, from the other side, and I'm going to do exactly the same, turn it around, line up the bottom of the tab to the bottom of the tank, and just place that in the center there. So now we have, this is the fun part where it all really comes together. So remembering which order your waves go in, I'm just going to position each of the waves in exactly the same way. So this time, and turn this upside down, this is going towards the back. So halfway between the back of the card and that middle wave, I'm just going to line up the tabs in exactly the same way and just position that there. And do the same on the other side. And I think it's actually important that you decorate these waves before they go into the tank. It makes it an awful lot easier. And if I just show you the side here, you can see that just by making these little tabs smaller, as I did before, it just gives you that nice bit of detail that you're not seeing any extra adhesive on the side of your tank there. So that's coming together real nice. So now it's just left to put in this front one. Drum roll, please. Thank you, Connie. Oh, I'm so glad you all stuck with me here. I think it was worth, hopefully I've not gone too slow, I've not gone too quick. I think it's definitely worth you seeing this in all the detail. So this one I'm going to slot into the front, and again in that space that's remaining, just sort of position, just eyeball it really. Position up the bottom of the tab to the bottom of the tank, and sort of equally space those as you put them in. And the same on that side also. And just give them a nice press. So there we are, look how that's coming together. Actually, that's really so sweet. And I think what I might do, I'm just going to attach the octopus just by himself, just with a little bit of glue onto that back. directly onto the back panel there. And if we lay this down, we'll be able to just make sure that he's not shielded by any of his friends. So we can add him there. I think you can use tape if you wanted to. And I think what I might do is just add an extra little bit of seaweed on the back also. So I'll just add drops of glue onto there. There's actually enough space for you to be able to just pop a little bit of extra detailing onto the back of the tank there, just by sliding your hand in. And I think I might just put that like so. A little bit of glue there, which I don't want to stick down. There we are. So there we are. You can see how that's come together, and you can really see just that 3D nature. And actually, even if you do, let's see, if you do have that panel at the side, sorry, I can see my window, reflection of my window there. It is just so 3D, and you can just fill it to your heart's content. You can put an awful lot in, you can put less in. It's entirely up to you. And you can see actually just, it will sit flat. It will sit flat better on one side than it does the other. And you'll be able to put that into an envelope. There we are. So we can put, as I say, some sentiments on the front. I did take some sentiments, as I say, from the collection that Lisa has on offer. So it's this one here, or you can use the fishy sentiments. That's entirely up to you. But you've got enough space just on the front here, just to add a little bit of something. I don't think it needs to be too much, to be honest with you, does it? Because you don't want to take away from what's on the inside of this card. So I'm just going to add something in the centre there. And I've just stamped and cut out, just fussy cut out these little words. You don't have any dies with these sentiments actually, but they're so easy to cut out yourself. Or use some more of your little layering dies that may fit the size of them as well. So I'm going to add that onto the front there. So have the best birthday. I think that's a super little card. Just how lovely is that? Is that Suzanne? Yes, good to see how you touch the C tabs, because the tabs can't be seen. I know that is just that, you know what, just that little bit of detail, just hiding it with what you've got on the side here, just makes that difference. And it's not too tricky to do. Obviously, if you don't have the window on the side, then you could have kept the tabs on the waves, no problem at all. But that, you can see just how dimensional is. That's a super special card. And so, honestly, thanks to Tina for actually coming up with all the dimensions and everything for that, because I honestly don't think I would have been able to do that myself. So make sure that, yeah, you give Tina some love on that one for sure. I'm just really chuffed with that, actually. I would say I would never have made that myself, but I'm just really enjoyed putting that together. Oh, thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina. Yeah, just thanks you. You talked me through that perfectly yesterday, actually, too. So all done, all sorted. I can relax a little bit. I was a little bit nervous of doing this one. Now to see, we do need to see a bunch of fish tanks in the group. You're absolutely right, Grandma Bonnie. I bet that there will be some of you who will give this a go for sure. And if you've got a little bit of time just to spend on this and you want a nice project, it really isn't scary at all. So make yourself a cup of tea, stick me back onto YouTube, take your time, and yeah, just enjoy the process. And you come out with this super little card. You even get to do some colouring to boot as well. So it's an absolute amazing project all round. So I shall leave it there with you today for sure. I've kept you for long enough this afternoon. I'll be back with you again on Thursday. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing yet. But in the meantime, remember that Lisa is on HSN. I think it's this evening. I think it works out to about 8 p.m. our time in the UK. But it will be streamed into the group and also on the HSN channels as well. So do enjoy that if you manage to catch that. Thanks so much for sticking with me this afternoon, and I'll see you all again Thursday. Take care, everyone.